You're live.
I don't see it yet.
It's going to kick in. Give me 1 second. We just got there.
Here we go. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to give a few people some time to tune in. Now you're going to go to your Facebook and we're going to share it to your page. We're going to go to the post here. We're going to share. Boom.
Thank you.
See?
All right.
Then I'm going to go to my page. And I'm going to pin it to the top of my page. Then I'm going to share it to some of my groups. Share it to some of my friends and family and Messenger first.
Okay.
To some of my groups. You gotta.
Oh, making sure I heard it. We good. We good to go.
You gotta learn how to do this when you become a circuit court judge, because you may want to get something out fast. She said,
Yeah, I'm going to have a very tech savvy clerk
a very tech
and
savvy.
secretary.
Okay.
They're
So
going to be
you're
very tech
you're gonna
savvy.
have real staff.
Absolutely.
Okay.
A whole law clerk.
She didn't catch
Can
that
you
shade
imagine
that?
that?
She gonna have real staff.
Yeah. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I have to do my own research now.
I-
So that
I
would be
know.
such
I
a
know.
delight to have some help.
Cause you gonna be the boss.
Ooh,
The boss.
yay.
I wonder why it takes so. Mickey. Hello, everyone. Thank you. Just give me a few more minutes. We're just waiting for a couple people to tune in. Give us a second here. Mm-hmm. You doing
I'm sharing the YouTube.
mm-hmm. You sharing it to YouTube. Oh, you know what, Mickey? I want me a YouTube page.
Well, we got a YouTube. We got a
I know,
YouTube.
but I want my own. People, I had made one a long time
And
ago.
Derek Smart said, "Oh, he said, how you doing too?" In the comments, I'm looking at
Hi,
the comments.
Derek
To know the married
Smart.
to
Oh,
Judge Mary Hood. That's what
Derek,
we
Hi
you're not speaking.
there.
Oh, you're not. Oh, he ain't speaking to me.
Hello.
He's not speaking to me. I haven't even introduced her yet. You're
I'm
supposed to
glad you
speak to the
tuned
host
in.
first, Mr. Derek Smart. We gotta go in. Black Lives Matter, sisters supporting sisters. See, you don't
We have
belong.
a lot of groups.
Yeah, you don't belong to all the groups.
I am relatively new to Facebook. I was on
Oh,
Facebook years ago, and then I
when
got
was the
off for
real
several
Facebook?
years. Yeah,
Okay,
and then
it's different now.
I just kind of like living my life real time,
Mm.
and kind of private person now.
Oh, you're a private person.
Hmm.
Me too.
And so, the light from the phone and all of that activity, that busyness, I think it's important for us to be still and
Mm.
to be quiet and to
Mm.
meditate. And I think that social media interrupts that and it interrupts our brain functioning to an extent and affects our overall mental health. So
Mhm.
I like to limit my use of social media and kind of like live my life, you
Me
know?
too.
Live
I
my
don't be on
life.
social media when I'm asleep.
But I like to say, but I like to say, hey, happy birthday, happy anniversary, good to see you all. Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. People will tune in. It's 6:05. They'll slowly join in. So, thank you. First of all, thank you to all my viewers out there for tuning in to the Wyntis Hall show tonight. I have circuit court judge candidates. Mary Hood joining me today. And but it was something I wanted to read first. I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna find it because it was so nice. And it was to the point and it was sweet. And I wanted to read it for the people. I am a circuit court referee running for a seat on the circuit court bench. Over the course of the past 25 years, both as a district court magistrate and a circuit court referee, I have done what judges do, made decisions. Prosecutors, city attorneys, and attorneys in private practice have initiated actions that required me to make a decision, often oftentimes immediately to protect a child or the public. I am an experienced decision maker, and the ability to make a good decision fairly is the most important quality a judge can possess. Vote Mary Hood in the nonpartisan section of the ballot. Who is Mary Hood?
Mary Hood is just a girl from the hood. Born and raised in the city of Flint. I am one of six children. My parents
Really?
had five girls and one boy.
Okay.
I'm kind of in the middle of that group. You
Okay.
know, working middle class, upper middle class family. My father was a landlord. He retired from General Motors and he had bought some real property throughout the city. So he
Okay.
owned about 12 rental properties back when I was growing up. And my mother was a school teacher. So we had a very good upbringing of, private piano lessons and private clarinet lessons and swimming lessons and trip to
Absolutely.
Paris when I was 16 years
Oh,
old.
then that was
So
nice.
we had a
Okay.
pretty good, I'm from
Y'all
a
was
functional,
balling.
dysfunctional family. There it wasn't perfect at all, but my parents did a really good job of raising independent women.
Right.
They got that part right.
Mhm.
They got that part right. No matter what else they were going through, they were a loving family. My parents were married until my mother died in 2001.
Oh wow.
So they had been married for over 40 years.
Okay.
But with that, there's some dysfunction with that. But they
Mhm.
stayed together.
We
I'm
all
so
have some
happy
dysfunction in our families now,
absolutely.
child.
I'm
We all
glad they
do.
stayed together because they knew how to parent us. Especially the younger, the older siblings. They just were very strict and structured.
Hmm.
So I grew up in a structured household. I attended Flint Community Schools, except for a year and a half, I was in a Catholic school, Daniel Sullivan.
Okay.
My mother visited my classroom, my grade classroom, and she
Hmm.
was dissatisfied
Mm.
with my classmates and the influence she believed they would have over me,
Okay.
not
Okay.
positive
Okay. Okay.
influence. And so she removed me from the public school for about a year and a half when she realized how unhappy I was. And, I would run away from school,
Would
things
you?
like I would.
Oh.
I was there and my classmates, my siblings weren't there. They were still in the public schools,
Hmm.
and so I was unhappy. And so she put me back in public school eventually.
Okay.
And I graduated from Flint Northern.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you a Viking?
I'm a Viking,
Okay.
class of 81. And I was in marching band for 3 years. So I
Okay.
was our section leader for the clarinet section for one of those years. And Northern had a very competitive band. And I was pretty much,
Y'all had a good
we
band. I
did.
remember that back in the day when y'all used to be marching around the neighborhood.
Yes, in
And
the parades, we
oh
ran up.
yeah, they used to, that, and that was the Flint I remember. And I remember one day it was on my birthday, and the marching band came down the street and they were just playing and everything. And I said, "Mama, you got the band to come down the street?" And she was like, "Yeah." She said, "Yeah, yeah."
She did all of
Uh-huh.
that.
Yeah, she got
She
all of
got it
that from
like
me.
that.
Yeah, she said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, mama."
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
those were the days. I had forgotten about that. But I mean, just the halftime shows at Atwood Stadium.
Right.
I remember my older sister, she was a couple of years older. She would be in the stands because two of us, one played the trumpet in the band and I played clarinet. And she would be cheering the band. She just absolutely loved it. Everybody loved our halftime show.
Oh yeah, Northern
Mhm.
Northwestern now. Either even though Southwestern Nights, it's Flint Academy, but we merged with Southwestern. And I became a Knights.
Mhm.
Um, we were the elite, but we did enjoy attending the Northern
You didn't
Northwestern
have much
games.
of a band though. I remember what I remember
I
my
see how she
daughter.
just played
Oh,
me.
my daughter, she attended Southwestern 7th through 12th grade. I had passed my
Me too.
clarinet down to
I
her.
was seven
I
to
said, "You
12.
can play in the marching band, Mama. That band, it just sucks. I'm not gonna."
She
She
said,
refused to play in the band. She said, "No way." Was she? It was embarrassing to her, and she
yeah.
said, "No, I'm not doing it." But
Battle of the Bands. When it was time for Southwestern to come up, you just go to the concession
yeah,
stand. You didn't want to play around like that.
we
No.
had an extraordinary band, and I was in orchestra and yeah, in a concert band, and I used to have solos. I was pretty good back in those days. It's something that I wish I would have continued to do. But when I graduated, and the same year I graduated, I gave birth to my daughter. So here I am, this
Okay.
kid with a kid, and I remember getting a call
Wait a
from.
minute. Now
Mhm,
let's make this timeline for the people. Now we got Mary Hood,
mhm.
who came from a two-parent home, bunch of kids,
Yes.
and used to run away from school. And your mama put you in a private school, but then she put you back in the public school, and then you became a teen mom.
Mhm.
Okay, now let's keep going.
With a lot of other stuff in between. But
Okay.
I became a teen mom,
Hmm.
and was a kid. I didn't realize it until many years later that I was really a child. When I look
Right.
at an 18-year-old now,
Hmm.
it's just I'm in disbelief as to how on earth I thought I was grown
Right.
when I was 18 years old.
Right.
And that you know, I wanted to be out on my own. I
Right.
wanted to be out of my parents' home. I wanted to be independent, and live my life. I was so ready to graduate high school. I always knew I was going to be a lawyer, so
Hmm.
I never
So you
doubted
had your
that.
eyes set on the prize, and I got some questions for you, but I want to get comfortable because I like Just Judy and everything, and I watch a lot of Law and Order, so I feel like I can do your job too. So,
Okay,
so if you need some help down there in the
I'll
court
call you
when you make it, call me because I got some stuff that I want to say to the people
because
too.
you have some common sense advice.
Yes,
I know it.
I got
Right.
some sense for 'em. So, you know, I'm gonna get to my questions, but just hearing a little bit of your life coming up in Flint, that dysfunction in your family, and looking now at the children that you see, because you're in the family court division.
Yes.
I'm gonna let everybody know she's in the family court division, and you see a lot of dysfunction.
Mhm.
You've seen it before the lead. You're seeing it now during the water crisis. And one thing I think is important, even though we work with a lot of different people, with me being in records at the hospital, I know a lot about I work with a lot of the assistant prosecutors in the prosecutor's office downtown and the judges and whatnot. So law is familiar with me. So I think even though, and they're great people, I'm not saying that, I'm making it a black and white issue just for a second. I'm not saying that all white people are bad, but hearing the dysfunction and you coming up and you look like me, I think it's important to let everybody know that if you vote for Mary Hood is going to be the only African American circuit court judge, right?
No, we have Celeste Bell is a circuit
Oh,
court
I
judge, but
forgot
she's
about
not
Miss Celeste.
assigned to family
Family court,
division
but you'll be the only African American
in family
in
court, the
family
family
court.
division of the
Yep.
circuit court in
And
the
that's
family
big.
division.
That's big because in my role, in my job, I deal with the birth and the mothers and the fathers. And in Genesee County, we have a high rate of unwed mothers. And we have that dysfunction in our county. And I just think that's important to try to keep the family and everything together, and you can relate to us. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And how do you feel when you see some of those people like you coming through the system? Do you feel like, oh, I need to teach them a lesson and be strict with them like your mother was with you, or do you feel like they need a second chance and they need some guidance? What do you do?
I think over time, I have probably I see things a little bit differently. When I first started, especially as a magistrate, and then even as a referee, but in younger years, I was so strict. I would had to hold people accountable and had to. You need to follow the rules, and so forth and so on. I was just so strict. Well, if you did it, if you ran the light, you're responsible.
Right.
But I would give people breaks, let them do community service. I would dismiss a lot of tickets. I did a lot of that as a
Okay.
magistrate. If you come in with 50 tickets, I'm probably going to dismiss some of them, but so I try and be fair and realistic, but I also, have to hold people accountable. But I don't know that I look at a situation where, in terms of African Americans versus another race, I look at facts. I always review the facts, and I
She
know what it's
passed the
like.
test, y'all. Mary Good. That's what I wanted to hear.
I always, I'm cognizant of disparities.
Mhm.
I'm very well aware of disparities, but I look at each individual case, and I'm fair to everyone.
Right.
And I think because I have such a broad, I know what it's like to be in a family household. I
Mhm.
know what it's like to co-parent.
Right.
I know what it's like, when parents don't really have it all together, but they
Mhm.
got some good qualities, and it's
Right.
something like I said, my parents were very good at raising strong women.
Mhm.
That was their thing. They did it.
Well, we
They
see
gave us
that.
that structure.
Right.
Every sister
Mhm.
is strong and was successful. And they were good at doing that. They had 5 girls and 1 boy,
Right.
and the boy was the youngest.
Mhm.
So my mother was very adamant that her girls were going to be self sufficient. They were going to be
Absolutely.
able to take care of themselves. They
Right.
weren't going to have to rely on a man to do anything.
Right.
But I have that broad range of knowledge that I bring to the table. And I realize over the years that, you know, there are people in marginalized communities, includes the poor white children, who
Absolutely.
are disadvantaged. I
Absolutely.
have children who come in and they're not going to school. They're not all people of color, children of color.
Mhm.
Some of them are white children. They're not going to school because guess what, their parents have transportation issues,
Right.
and then they may not want their kids in the Flint public schools, but they
Mhm.
can't get them to school in another district.
And it's not,
And
and we want to make it known that this is not just a Flint position. This is a
it
county-wide position.
is it
So
is
you're seeing it's a lot of stuff that goes on in Flint
Mhm.
with families. You and I both know from working in this world, it goes on in the out counties
Mhm.
as well.
I think it does, but I think it's to a lesser extent,
Of
but
course, yeah,
it does happen because with poverty comes a lot of other issues,
absolutely.
and mental health issues, and but we do have, and we have to understand that, sometimes I'll see kids come in and juveniles, and they might go and hire a high price attorney. Well, we're in juvenile division,
Right.
and we know that the outcome is probably not going to be any better with this high price attorney
Right.
than
Absolutely. It's
than
not going to
with
make
another attorney, because
right.
for most charges the child's record is going to be expunged because they're children, and
Right.
we don't want them to go into adulthood except for very serious offenses
Right.
with a
Absolutely.
criminal record. Don't
Right.
start their adult lives like that. So there are things that I'm privy to and aware of, and just because I've been doing this for so long,
Mhm.
but I see it across the board, and I try to. I have been. I just don't see race. I mean, I see issues,
Right.
and I see disparities. I see inequalities, and I know whether it's due to poverty or due to racism or due to lack of just you know access or what have you for any other reason.
Right.
So I see those things, but
And
I
because
love
you've
children
seen
of all.
those things and you're
Mhm.
telling me you love children, it leads me into my next question. What made you want to run? Like 25 years, you're already in circuit court every day. You know, you're making decisions like you said. Referee, magistrate. I mean,
Because it's a lot more responsibility to being a judge. You know,
right.
I've been flying under the radar in this safe zone, and we're going to have three new judges on that bench. I
Oh
didn't know
yeah.
it at the time, but as I sat at my desk, um, I'm used to moving from one position to another,
Uh-huh.
upward mobility.
Okay.
So even at my age, upward mobility is
Yo,
important to me.
age, girl, you look
Thank you.
good on this.
But you know, I'm sitting in that office, and for years I've been, you know, pressing like I need more. I need more. This is not enough for me anymore. I'm outgrowing
Right.
this office. I need to do more. And I sat there, and I'm on the first floor of the courthouse. I'm looking up at the ceiling, literally, like,
Right.
okay,
What
I'm just this ceiling away, busting
I'm
through it.
going up.
Yeah,
Right.
you know, and I'm parking in this same. I've been there. Judge Godola, after Judge Beagle retires, Judge Godola will be the longest serving judge in our circuit court. I was appointed before he was elected.
No way.
I have applied for two gubernatorial appointments. I
And
have
still
applied
haven't
for the
got them.
friend of the courts position.
And still
And
didn't get it.
I said, you know, if I get this, I'm gonna have to fight for it. I'm
And
gonna have to fight for it.
yeah.
And I said, I was thinking, if not me, then who? I
Mhm.
have 20 years in the family
You
division.
got the
I cannot
experience.
just allow someone who doesn't have that
Uh-huh.
to just walk
Walk over,
in.
I,
And I've been
girl.
there. I'm parking in the same lot, and I'm
Mhm.
not bougie, but we have this
I
gated lot.
understand what you're
I've been asked the
saying.
judges. I've
Yeah.
seen judges come and go,
Uh-huh.
and I walked through that same door for 20 years,
And
and then
probably good and just as good or even
and,
better.
and so I said, you know what? If not me, then who? And then I thought about City of Flint. We don't have a judge after two of our judges retired. They aged out. We no longer have a judge who lives in the city limits, although we are the county seat. We don't have a judge on circuit court who lives in the city anymore. And that was important to me. The
What
fact
you
that
gonna say?
we don't have an African American and family division. There were just so many reasons why everything lined up.
What
But
happened to Judge Barkey?
she's still
She's
there.
still there? Okay.
And you know, they've been saying I became licensed to practice law 31 years ago, and black attorneys, we just knew, and we were told that the conversation, anytime a seat became available on circuit court, oh, a black lawyer can't win. We never
Hell
even
yeah.
tried for
Uh-huh.
many, many years. Black lawyer can't win an open seat. That means there's not an incumbent open seat on our circuit court bench. And they're still saying that to this day.
Oh
Some
yeah,
black
I believe
attorneys
it.
have said it, and I've heard white attorneys say it. And I don't believe that this is what Genesee County represents, not for blacks or whites. I
Right.
believe that people vote based on experience, and that's what people have been telling me.
And they need to
And so,
continue to do so.
yeah.
Because it's a judge shortage. We got Judge Bean, we got Pakel, and what's
No,
who,
we have the ones that are judge the seats that are going to
the
be
ones
up.
that who's left. We got three
Well,
that's
we
left.
have Judge Beam is still there. Now
Okay.
she's waiting for full Senate, I believe, confirmation for her seat.
Okay. Okay.
So that's pretty, imminent. But Judge Fair, his retirement is effective November 9th, the day after the election. And then
Oh yeah,
Judge
that's the
Beagle,
one
the
that got to
seat
choose
that
when
I'm
he was gonna
in,
leave. Go ahead.
the one who, so Judge Beagle is the seat that I'm running for. So yeah, well,
Okay.
there's three seats.
Right.
There are three seats, and every single one will be in family division.
And you gonna have one of
Every
those
every
seats.
single one, every single one, and you have one judge who has experience in that division right now because all the other judges will be in civil criminal division. So I mean, I think the family court system is something. First of all, you have to have a reasonable amount of enjoyment. You have
Mhm.
to like it,
Right.
because it's not a pretty job. It's not like dealing with contracts.
No,
Someone broke a
it's not a
contract, or
pretty job.
it's not. It's not. There's nothing glamorous about it.
No.
You're not dealing with the criminal aspect. Criminal law is fascinating. It's an interesting area.
But
But I mean,
sometimes you have to you're dealing with those DHS cases, and you're looking at those pictures of those children that have been abused, molested,
Mhm.
do you become numb to that? I seem like over the years of 25 years I've been doing this,
Mhm.
I think I've become numb to that, and that's what scares me the most about being in this world, the hospital legal
Mhm.
world. You become numb to a lot of things.
I think that the average citizen or resident would probably think so. If you came in my hearing room and you sit in the back and you watch as I detain a kid, for example.
Hmm.
Some people, first time they see that, their eyes are just
Like,
popped out of
wow,
that.
I can't
You,
believe she
this is a
did.
kid, and
Right.
you act like you just locked up a kid,
Hmm.
and so I think to some extent I probably am because I have to be. I can't if I have a parent in front of me, they
Can't
have
be all
certain rights,
emotional and
right?
stuff, right?
Oh, they charge accused of abusing their or killing their kid or something like that. I can't sit there and cry.
Right.
I mean, because even though my heart is aching, we have a parent who the judicial system is supposed to be neutral. If
Absolutely.
I'm sitting there crying,
You know,
I'm against you
there you
because you
go.
hurt this child.
Right.
So I'm already,
Right.
biased.
Right.
So I can't let those emotions. I can't let my staff sit there. I've had clerks who want want cry, because of
Wow.
something. You can't do that,
Mhm.
and it sounds cruel,
No,
but
it does, but they
yeah,
don't understand.
yeah,
You
it
gotta,
sounds cruel, but
gotta.
my heart aches just as much as theirs, and we have had some of the ugliest cases you've ever want to know about. We've had them in Genesee County.
I know. I
Yes,
know. I've
yes.
worked with Dr. Nolan, who I'm sure you've seen in your
Mhm.
courtroom plenty of times, and heard the testimonies from.
Well, the judges hear the trial, so we
Okay.
don't. I would hear a preliminary hearing, so we
Right.
don't have any testimony from doctors.
Okay.
Every now and then, an attorney will request a full blown preliminary hearing, the first
Mhm.
hearing, and bring in witnesses, but it's rare.
Okay.
So yeah, it's rare.
I heard you say growing up, you said you always knew you wanted to be a lawyer.
Mhm.
And was that because you had the baby brother and then you wanted to kind of probably put him in jail?
No, I don't know. I could not identify any reason except it was kind of like. Now, my father had a brother who was an attorney back in the 1950s.
Here in Flint?
Yes,
Okay.
John Thomas. And then he had two, Herman Gibson and Thomas Gibson, two first cousins who were lawyers. So
Okay.
that generation, my grandfather would hold moot court.
Okay.
And my father was supposed to be, he went to Howard, went to
You
when
said
my
he
uncle
hold
was
what court?
moot court. My grandfather
What's
down
moot
on
court?
moot court competitions and on Black Street at their house. Like they would have trials, mock trials. And
Lord have mercy. I've
that
never heard of
generation,
nothing like that.
oh,
Moot court.
yeah, and
Okay.
three lawyers came out of that generation. My father was supposed to be an attorney, but he met
Wow.
my mother, and she had two young children from a first marriage
Okay.
already. And so he went to work for General Motors to take care of the family. He gave up his education.
Wow.
And yeah, so um, back to the question,
Hmm.
which was
What did
the with
why you
what
wanted to be go
and so
in,
civil rights movement is going on because
okay.
I was born and I'm thinking um and I used to sit in front of the TV. Back then they played those reels over and over again of the civil rights movement. They played not only, the speeches, Dr. Martin Luther King's speeches, quite a bit, but we would see them hosing down people. Those reels. I don't know if you all, your generation, really saw all of that, but we saw it all the time. I mean, I could still see someone rolling, on the ground from the hose, the strength of the water, the pressure of the water, during the civil rights movement, dogs biting people, things like that. So I remember sitting in front of the TV for long periods of time and watching that. And I think that it was probably trauma associated with it, I'm sure,
Right.
but it created in me a sense of just fairness and wanting to treat people right and never wanting anybody to be hurt. And that's something about me. So even if someone thinks that I make a decision and they didn't get what they want or she wasn't fair, this, that, and the other, it's not in my heart to ever hurt a person.
Mhm.
I'm charged with doing what's right for children. And all I can do is take the facts that I'm given and do the very best that I can with it.
Absolutely.
I do not have a vicious or vindictive motive behind anything, and that's just ingrained in me from the time I was a child. I'll hurt myself before I hurt another human being. Most of the time, that's the way I see life.
She
But
said most of the time, y'all.
yeah, because sometimes now, if
Don't
you
try
you
it.
know,
Her name there in
I
the
know.
hood. Don't try her.
Right, right. Don't take it too far,
Right.
Don't
Don't
and
try
Breeze, my husband told me today we had a situation, and he said, "I'm not gonna place, uh, you know, evil for evil.
her.
I'm not gonna do evil for evil.
Right.
So I don't care what they're out there doing. I'm not gonna do evil for evil.
So when they
So
go low, you go
that's
high.
right. That's right.
That's good. When they
Yeah,
go
I
low,
try, and
I go
sometimes
lower.
and
That's what
sometimes I think that, but I can't do it.
the
Sometimes I say,
Dr. Reverend Eric Mays said when they go low, you go lower. You see him
I
over
said
there.
they keep messing with me. I said I'm gonna go lower. Honey. Just keep on. But I hope that I don't have that in my heart, And I tell you, people can push you to. They push you to the limit sometimes. Everybody has a limit, and you know everybody has a bad day. But by and large, I think that most of the community knows me for being fair and for doing the right thing and for knowing what I'm doing. But I just wanted to be an attorney all of my life. And then I had a cousin when
Did
I
you ever
was
have your
young.
own practice before you went to?
I
Okay, so
did. I
okay.
did. I had an attorney, cousin who was an attorney, Tracy Collier Nick. She was a lawyer too,
Yes,
and
yes.
she's my
Okay,
first cousin.
okay.
So those are kind of some
Tracy
of the
Collins, so
reasons
you
why.
related to Aunt Eartha?
Yeah, she's my first cousin.
Girl,
Hmm.
it's a small
Yeah, it
world.
is. It
Okay.
is. Yep. I mean, my family, I have a fairly large family. Someone says, "So you have a large?" Yes, I do. I have a fairly large family.
Uh-huh. You sure do.
So you asked me something else.
I asked you about you had a practice when you were
I
attorney
did.
and you
Just
gave that up.
just a little bit. I worked for legal aid when I first started out, and I
Okay.
represented low income families.
Do we still have legal aid here?
Yeah, Legal Services of Eastern
Oh,
Michigan.
okay.
We sure do. It's right on Saginaw Street,
Y'all hear that? We
right near
still got legal aid here
yeah,
for
yeah,
people that's low income.
absolutely.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
and they even help in family court matters, and they have certain criteria, and it may be, I'm not positive of the criteria, but maybe some, domestic violence or, low income
Okay.
qualifications, but it has,
What about
the
fathers trying to get
circumstances.
rights? They low income fathers. I mean, sometimes it's
And
hard for
I think
dads
they
out
might
here.
help fathers because sometimes they've had a conflict with the mother because they represented the father. So there's some, yeah.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
don't know all of the criteria, but absolutely,
Okay.
there's still that agency is still around, and
Okay.
we do need
More
folks to
right.
have more attorneys, yeah, to represent low income people. I don't know if the income because they have the income limits. If they need to kind of raise that, so that more people will have access. I know it's not likely to happen, but in the division in referee's office, we deal with a lot of pro se litigants. So they have the right to represent themselves, and see that's hard, for us too because they don't have the tools to do it.
Right.
So yeah, you can represent yourself and you come in and you tell all this story and you just think, oh yeah, I know I won that, but they didn't
Right.
because you didn't prove your case. You
Hmm.
said all of that,
But you still
but
didn't prove
you
your
didn't prove
case.
your case.
Right.
And so because they don't
They don't
understand
know the law.
what they
Right.
really
Right.
need to say. So I get a lot of that. So I practiced a little bit after legal services of this Eastern Michigan. I had a law practice for a couple of years, but then I got appointed as an assistant city attorney for Highland Park. So I was doing I had my private practice where I was doing mainly, I was on the defender list. So I was representing indigent defendants.
Wait a
So I
minute. You
did.
quickly ran by that. You
Mhm.
was assistant city attorney for Highland Park.
Yeah, I was had my private practice here, and I had to close it and do that. I did that for 2 years.
Really?
Hmm.
Now that seemed like city attorney.
It
You
was a
had no desire to be a city attorney.
You know what? I'm gonna tell you. And that man, we were kind of like his appointees. were his campaign. So we worked really hard. And because we only had three attorneys, sometimes only two, I would have to chair those city council meetings.
Oh,
And
you
that,
could be city attorney here in
yeah,
Flint at the council meetings.
they were something, yes. And
Was
but
that
that
like
was
like our council
it.
meetings?
It was worse back then. Flint was wonderful compared to Highland Park
Wait a
back
minute.
in that day.
Flint now.
Flint, no, well, Flint then.
Okay.
I don't
You know
know.
Flint
Don't
now.
get me started.
We're gonna talk about our council
You
now.
know, Flint. It was just like I couldn't imagine Flint ever being like Highland Park was, and it was quite an experience. But I became good at kind of, that balancing act between
And
the
you had to
mayor and
sit
the
there in that
council.
council in those council meetings,
Yes.
and you was Attorney Kim, and sitting there getting badgered by the council members.
Yes, yes. Yeah, but they weren't too hard.
Wow.
They weren't too hard on me. I mean, if you're prepared, they pretty much respect you.
Yeah, but you
So.
quickly got out of there because you quickly ran
But you
past
know
that.
what? I did because I mean, here I am. I had a daughter here. She was young, and
Mhm.
she really the position became available magistrate for the city of Flint. So
Oh,
here I am
okay.
commuting all the way to Highland Park four
Right.
days. We worked 4 days. So I was doing that commute every day. And in the winter, that would take 2 or 2.5 hours sometimes one way. And I had a daughter, and, she was young. And so I said, I said, I think I'm going to go on and apply for this position here. And she really didn't want me to. She said, so that means you're not going to be able to go to court anymore. Like
Right.
you're not even
My
going to
mama
be a
in the court.
lawyer.
Right.
Right. Like I'm not a real lawyer anymore
Right.
because I accepted, and I had to explain, to her I'll still be an attorney, but she wanted her mom to be in that courtroom,
Right, because when you think about magistrate and a referee, I'm thinking like, oh, we're not even going to court. We're just going to sit down in front of somebody,
Yeah.
but not knowing that they are attorneys.
Yes.
You
A
know,
lot of people, especially I think more people know that like magistrates, you can even relate to a magistrate being a licensed attorney, but referees, I had even a commissioner say, "Well, you're running for judge. You're a magistrate, a referee, but you're not a lawyer." I
Mm.
said, "Well, yeah, I am."
Yes, I
No, he
have.
said they don't have to be like they do, but they grandfather. So there might be some referees in the state, but I doubt it because that are not attorneys because they grandfathered
Right.
the older ones in, but they should probably be
Be
retired
attorneys,
by
right,
now.
right, right.
So you have to be, and then even if you're not an attorney, there's certain things you can't do that licensed attorneys can do. But yeah, it's like you have a hearing, even though we make recommendations to the court, the judges, they almost treat us like we're judges, and we make recommendations and make findings and recommendations, determine the truth, so forth and so on. The rules of evidence apply just like they do in a hearing before a judge.
Mhm.
You wouldn't be able to really distinguish between a referee's hearing and a hearing that a judge has on, say, custody. It's not going to be much different. Sometimes we have attorneys, two attorneys that are, and judge
And
might
you sit
defer a
up there,
case.
you get to do all of that and everything. So
Yeah, and make
yeah.
that decision. But my decision would be in the form of a recommendation.
Mhm.
So the parties can object to it,
Mhm.
So we treat it as though, irrespective of what the court rules, like some people think, oh, well, you just be advisory or what have you. The judges give a lot of weight to those recommendations because they trust our judgment.
Absolutely.
And they've been, they review the tape, and they'll know,
Mhm.
over time whether or not they can trust what you submitted. But if people object, that it goes before the judge. If someone has an issue with what the judge does, it goes to the Court of Appeals. And so that's another reason why I said I've been flying under the radar,
Right.
because
Because
now it just goes to the judge. But as a judge, and I think that some of my decisions, if it's hard for a referee because someone wants an immediate decision,
mhm.
and we have to tell them we can't do that.
Right.
I can't give you an immediate decision. Well, as a judge, I could do that if I know something is the right thing to do,
Right.
and I know this is a good decision
Mhm.
that needs to be made right away. As a judge, I could say this is what I'm going to order,
Mhm.
but I can't do that as a referee. So
Right.
my hands are tied.
Right.
So that's another element in terms of why be a judge versus a referee.
Right.
You know,
Now, why be Circuit Court Judge Mary Hood? Why would you want Genesee County to vote for Mary Hood?
For all of the reasons I've already said. You
Okay.
know, I have the experience. I do care about the residents. I do believe that we should have someone who lives in the city of Flint on our circuit
Mhm.
court bench. I do have, like I said, a wide range, not just of legal experience, having practiced law, having made decisions as a, magistrate, having made recommendations as a referee, having done all of those. It's like been assistant city attorney. It's like the culmination of everything that I could possibly do to be well rounded. I've
Right.
done.
Like we
Like I
we go
said.
back to that timeline, and I like you. Like, I'm just serious. Like, when you sit here and you get to know somebody, when you
Mhm,
ask the right questions, and I can feel the sincerity or if they just playing a political game. I
mhm.
mean, you can quickly point that out. And I'm glad that I feel the sincerity from you, knowing that you're going to be behind that circuit court bench making
Yes.
the right decisions for the city of Flint. So
I'm glad you feel that
that
because I have a hard time lying. Someone told me I can't come up with what to say. When
oh, you got to be quick
it's
on your
like,
feet,
oh my,
girl.
yeah, no, I'm used to sitting down and pondering. I
You're
ponder.
thinking about
Yeah, I'm
stuff.
thinking
Right,
about
right.
things. So if you ask me something, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I said, oh, they might have thought I was a little off. But
But no,
but
you
I'm just
thinking.
used to thinking about things so much, and I am a much better writer than I am, or
You are doing
so.
wonderful. Every time I talk to you, it's always a delight. And I'm glad that the audience is getting to know Mary Hood, Judge Mary, Attorney Mary Hood, to be circuit court judge. And I mean that's big for me to be able to sit next to
Mhm.
a circuit court judge. I'm just gonna speak it because that's what you're gonna be.
I appreciate
I
that.
mean,
I
you're gonna get
appreciate
you
that.
you gotta get it. And to be Flint made. And
Mhm.
that's why it's important to vote.
It
That's why
is.
people need to get out and vote. If we got Flint out to vote, you can Flint without outdo the county.
We had 10,000 or so registered voters to vote in the primary, and of over 56,000 registered voters in the city of Flint. And I came in second by only 1,250 votes.
Wow.
1,250 votes.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
1,250
Like
votes.
less than 2.5 percentage points.
You gonna get
Yeah. So
this. You gonna get this.
and it's been a road. It's been, but God, I can't imagine ever disconnecting from it.
Mhm.
I like the connections. I've like the community that I have seen and that I have been a part of this past almost year. It's just been an amazing experience.
Is
I'm
this
sure
is
I'm gonna
this your
slow
first
down
time
some.
running for
It's my first
elected a
time.
seat
Yes,
position?
I have a political science degree. I got my bachelor's at the University of Michigan Flint.
Okay.
So because I had a daughter, of course, I stayed here.
Mhm.
Then went to Thomas M. Cooley Law School. But yeah, um, yes,
Yes. So she said just yes. Okay.
yeah, I
Yes.
kind of lost my train of thought again. But yeah, so it's my first time running. I was asked if I would ever run again.
That's what
No,
I was gonna
I
ask you.
was a
Like, how what you
political.
think about the politics in Flint?
You know what? I was a political science major, and my dad. We talked about it, and that was what I was going to do because most lawyers, they have poli sci degrees. It
Mhm.
was. I never thought I would use it to run for office.
Oh
So
yeah.
be in politics like this, and
That's just like
I'm
Mayor Weaver.
learning.
She using her psychology degree. You got to out here. You
I'm
got to
learning.
throw your mind with a lot of these people out
Yeah, I'm just really really learning and trying to, and that's when you're in that arena and you're looking at it in terms of the people,
here.
and this is not about me. So I'm going to have to position myself and change if I need to my attitude
Right.
about certain things. If I see someone is supporting this person, someone support, well, you know what? That's okay. Maybe
Mhm.
they'll support me next time, or maybe that doesn't mean anything other than this is who they chose, to support. So, or people that tell you they're going to do something and they don't follow through. And I'm such a perfectionist, and that's one of my flaws. I am. I know people are not
That's not a
perfect,
flaw.
but I'm not perfect. No one's perfect, but
Right.
I do. I this has changed me for the better to that extent, because it's okay if everything is not done,
The
at a
right
certain
way.
time.
Right.
Right. It's okay if, you didn't clean your house. It's okay if some things have to go because you don't have time to do it. It's okay for life to be a total chaos, but for purpose.
Mhm.
It's okay, for right now, for you to leave all of that until you can get to it.
Right.
Because I've always been a creature of habit, and everything had to work a certain way. And, everybody was supposed to, this is, the structure, because I grew up in such structure. And
Mhm.
if somebody didn't do something and it seemed to be ridiculous to me, it's like, oh,
Right.
and it doesn't matter.
You can still
It's
get down the
like,
street, whether you go this way or that
yes,
way.
you
You can
see,
still
you
get
get
there.
there.
Right.
They're still gonna get there. Like sweating the small stuff. I was notorious for sweating the small stuff. It doesn't matter. So many things. So I've learned so much about people, and it's not all negative. Most of it's good, and growing me to the position, because that's what the position
It
requires.
does.
It requires you
Knowing
to,
people.
yes, know people
Yeah.
and let things, put that smile on your face, and walk out there no matter what,
Mhm.
just smile,
But
you
it's
know.
but it's good. I think
Mhm.
just hearing your story, and I'm hoping that our listeners have heard your story, or go back and listen to the story from the beginning to the end. And that's why I think it's important that you vote Mary Hood for circuit court judge on November the 8th, because we need someone that can relate to our dysfunction. And when I say our, I'm just talking about a human being.
Human,
Just
human,
it's not a black or white thing. It's just human
yes,
dysfunction.
yes, hmm,
Every family has some type of
hmm,
dysfunction, some more than others.
yes,
And you need a judge that understands that. I
hmm,
think Judge Beagle was a wonderful judge.
absolutely.
And with him retiring, you stepping in and filling his shoes.
Huge shoes to
Huge
fill.
shoes to
Hmm,
fill, but you can do it.
hmm.
You can do it.
Yeah, and I think that that's why community, staying connected with the community is so important to me, because I know that
Mhm.
he stayed connected.
Yes, he did.
And I know, even though he left, he was a Flintstone,
Yeah, but
and
he
maybe
he
he's
not
still a
anymore.
Flintstone,
He not a I know he not a
but
Flintstone. He
no,
don't live in
but
the Flint.
he still loves the city,
Yes, he does.
So
He does love the city.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so let me see. As a black woman, what words and wisdom would you give to our youth today?
Mhm.
Um, from the court perspective, and then what words and wisdom would you give to them if they wanted to go into law? So it's a two
Mhm.
part. Like what you're seeing now, what words and wisdom would you give to our youth and to our families, our mothers and fathers?
I think um, setting goals and staying focused, is extremely important. No matter what you're going through, you continue to move forward, and set those goals. If you don't have any goals, I think you don't have direction, and you're not, you're going to kind of be tossed to and fro with the wind.
Mhm.
So I think it's very important that for children to be connected in school, find something that you love to do, whether it's in school, at church, or, you know, some dance program at the FI,
FIA.
M or
Yeah.
FIA.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, some, musical instrument at FIM, doing things that are free, or fairly free. Get a bicycle, go bicycle ride, but always, stay engaged and have something that you enjoy doing, and do it your entire life. Just continue to do it, because it comes in handy. I remember when I was studying for the bar exam, and it got really intense. It was so hard, I wanted to give up. I
No,
said, I'm not doing. I'm like,
that's one
I
thing I
quit.
would
I'm not doing this.
never, 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 never. I could never do.
Yeah,
I
it's
never
so
want to be an
hard.
attorney.
At law
Mm-mm.
school, it's like the bar exam is everything you learn potentially in 3 years. You get one time, one
Right.
test, And so I remember wishing that I took my clarinet out and couldn't play any longer because it had been so long since I
You
had played.
probably was
But I
beating
wish
it.
that
I had to
I
take
wish
a
I had that
national exam
music.
for my credentials and putting 2 years into a test.
Yes. And then
Oh,
in law school, it's like your entire grade is based, except your writing classes, your entire
mhm.
grade is based on just one exam from September to December.
Right,
Everything you learn, you get
right,
one test per
right,
class. So, I mean, I just think that it's important to stay engaged. For young people, I think it's important to associate with like minded people. I had a lot of friends that we weren't going in the same direction. That probably helped me to be a little bit, kind of diverse too in my
right.
thinking and have broad,
Because you're
open
seeing a lot of
minded.
things.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah. Some things that they wouldn't do that, that I wouldn't do what they
They
would do or
did,
what
right.
have you. But I learned at an early age because I had to defend myself. I had to make friends with the kids that weren't the good kids. I'm like, because they're gonna protect me. So I
Right.
learned how to do
You
that
had all them
from the time.
sisters and you.
Yeah, well, I didn't have any brothers. I said, this way. Now I'm not gonna call out their names, but in middle school, I'm like, yeah, he's my friend, And then students got bust over the Longfellow. We were some chumps over there. And so I said, yeah, I had to learn how to adapt, but really to be with people who have goal oriented. Set your goals and stay focused on them and just just enjoy life. If things get bad for you, or you don't succeed at something, keep trying.
Yeah.
And for me, one of the biggest lessons I've learned through this journey was just do it afraid. You've heard that so many times, but it is so true. No matter what it is you want to do, sometimes we're afraid.
Right.
I could have run for office 20 years ago. I didn't have the courage to do it. So sometimes you do things just because, and I know one of our attorney, I think Judge Marsh, taught me that she had courage to do something, and I admired to
Tabitha
have.
Marsh.
Yes,
Right.
Judge Tabitha Marsh. She had the courage, and so a couple of years ago, I was thinking about that. I said, you know what? That takes a lot of courage,
Right.
to do what she did, and I realized that I had never done it, tried, because I didn't have the
You
courage.
didn't have the courage.
Didn't have the courage to do it, and I think, and it's
Experience
so fear.
beyond experience. On top of
Yeah,
experience, on top of
yeah,
experience.
and did not have the courage to do that. Just think about how few attorneys jump out into a race
Right.
for judge,
Right.
and then a whole county-wide
Right.
race.
And
and,
sometimes they
yeah,
win.
yeah. So it's
Mm.
like it's a whole county-wide race. So it's like I think that fear stops us. I've experienced it myself.
You
How
say, "Oh,
much?
I'm a black woman." Counties, they not gonna vote for me.
Yeah. Well, I jumped into this and didn't know what I had ahead of me. Didn't know what I was gonna do, and I think sometimes you just have to do it. Just do it.
What God has for you is for you. If that door is open for you, I can't go
That's
there. I
right.
can't go through there.
That's right.
And you be some wonderful people.
Hmm.
Wonderful assistant prosecutor from
Hmm.
downtown.
Yes.
Wonderful person.
Yes. Yes.
But this is your season.
Hmm.
And you gotta learn to just walk into your season. I learned that from my friend Miss Cookie, Miss Ida Cookie Johnson just had her 60th birthday.
Mm.
You gotta learn to walk in your truth, walk in your season.
Hmm.
And this is your season. And the door is open for you to walk in. And I wish you nothing but success
Thank
on
you so
November the
much. I,
8th.
I think I'm gonna just run through it.
Just run
Just
through
run
it,
through
girl.
that
Just
door.
run.
I'm just gonna run
Just
through that
run.
door.
And just run.
That open door.
And you'll
And I
probably
see that.
never see me in family court division. Well, you might because I just had a daughter turn 13 and we're not doing so
And you
well.
might kill her,
I,
half
I, I
kill
might
her.
have killer. I got two girls, and the other one she's right on my trail.
Well,
That's a
I
little
tell
me.
you
So
know
just
what,
if you,
just ride it out.
yeah.
They'll be okay.
But if you
Just
see
ride.
me, just remember what you said. Look up. Just look up. and have some courage.
That's right. Be strong. Just just
Be
don't
strong.
ever give up. And it's like it's so easy when things are really hard. Like this is more than I could ever imagine anybody would ever go through. And especially to work a full-time job too. And it's just like it's so
Because this is a
much.
full-time job.
It
A
is.
campaign is a full-time
It
job.
is.
People think, oh, you just
Mm-hmm.
go to, you have fundraisers and you just smile for the camera.
Mm-hmm.
Girl, no, no, no.
That's right.
It's from the time you get up until the time you
Yeah.
go to sleep, and then you don't sleep because your mind is running.
Mm-hmm.
And then we 30 days out, so you running every day.
Yep.
It's like this.
Yep.
It's like this.
Yep.
But I appreciate you, and the time has flew by.
Oh
See,
yeah.
this
What
time
time is it?
I told
How long have we been
it
conversing?
is 6:55. Did I tell
Oh
you
my
I'm a
goodness.
natural in
I
this darling,
suppose.
so I can
This
get you
has
the
been
flowing.
wonderful. I have had an absolutely wonderful time.
Well,
I
thank
really
you,
have. I
and
liked it.
it's been a joy for me having you here. Mary Hood, November the 8th.
I appreciate your
Um,
support. The nonpartisan section of the ballot. If they want to sign, if any of your listeners or
tell the
my
people,
hey, if
tell
you
them
want to
you got an
sign,
event coming up. Let them
yes,
know about this
well,
event
I
that you
have an
got coming up.
event tomorrow. I can't raise money, but I do have an event tomorrow, and it's probably on my if you follow me on Facebook,
Where?
the invitation.
Where can we
It's at
follow
a
you on
private home,
Facebook?
just my Facebook account.
Oh, shit.
No,
Yeah, you can.
okay.
Can you
I'm
share it?
he's,
'Cause,
he's gonna
yeah,
share it on
I'm
810 News Media Group.
yeah, I am technologically a little
Not too good, but she gonna get her
challenged,
some real
but I'm gonna
staff.
have staff that
Staff.
is very much
Some real staff.
competent. They are really high
She got
tech
a real
people. So
degree.
yes, so
I just be a little shady girl. Don't
so
mind me.
yeah, just if you want to sign, if you can canvas, if you can walk, some of my folks are not able to walk, injuries, have caused some of them not to be able to get out and canvas with me. I mean, I find myself canvassing alone
You
quite
sent
a
in
bit.
some of them kids to go out there and walk door
Mhm.
to door with you
But
in community service to come down there in the
I
family
need
court.
I need to find some. I'm 1 month out, and I don't mind going door to door. If I could go and talk to every single person in this county, I would not mind doing it because it's all been positive.
Well, that's
It's been,
good.
you get a couple people that are not that kind because, and I don't understand that because
I do because they got that
some most of them
ring
don't want to
doorbell
be
now.
bothered
It's that ring doorbell.
that talks to you.
Yeah, now
Yeah,
they can see you. They won't come to the door now. When we used to campaign, they would have to come and see us or either peek out the window and we would see them, so they would be forced. Now they got that ring doorbell, and we don't know if they're in there because they can be talking to you
But
from
I
another
don't
city.
understand it. And it's like I remember a gentleman he was really upset because he has so much literature. He was getting his mail out of his mailbox, and he had all of this literature, and he was ticked off. And I was trying to hand him some more, and he said. He was like, I don't want that. You put all this mess in there. I said, sir, I only have one piece. And then I explained to him, I said, we just want you to be informed. That's all we just want. If you vote, you're a voter, you're on the list. We just want you to know about
Know who
us,
you voted
know who you're
for.
voting for. So,
Right.
I mean, if you're on that the walk list, we're going to come to your home because we want you to know who we are so that you'll know. I mean,
Absolutely.
you'll be informed. So that's all. And we don't know as canvassers what's going to be on the other side of that door. So just be friendly. Just
Right.
be kind. Even if you don't support me or you don't support my opponent, I mean, just be kind. That's
Just be
not going to
nice
hurt
to
you.
us.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. And some people
Let me
say,
tell you the trick. You take kids with you, send the kids up
and
to
then,
the door, and then be nice to the kids. And I stand back there, boom, and you come out and get them.
yeah, yeah.
But listen, I got listeners.
All right.
Shardy, he said he wants a sign. So if people want signs, how do they get
Yes.
signs?
They're gonna have to make contact with me, and I'll have to
On
get them to them.
Facebook,
If
they
they can make
contact.
contact with me, if they
Okay,
inbox me their name, address,
you
phone
hear
number,
that?
what have you,
So inbox
I'll
them.
get it. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll get it to you. I'll put it
Okay.
out.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you can inbox her if you need a sign. Again, this is Mary Hood. She's running for circuit court judge. She's going to be in the nonpartisan section on your ballot. So remember, Judge Mary Hood on November 8th when
Yes.
you go to cast your ballot. And I appreciate as always, all of my viewers and my listeners for watching the Wyntis Hall show today. And my viewers and I would like to thank Miss Mary Hood for coming on and just we just love knowing getting to know you and learning about you as a person today. So we know who we have sitting behind that bench. That is important. That's what Pastor Hill always tells us. Do you
Mhm.
know he does never says anything about who we should vote for, but he says just know for yourself about anything.
That's absolutely true.
Anything.
That's
Just
true.
research for yourself. So speaking of my church, thank you for attending the other Sunday.
Oh, absolutely.
And please come back and join us
I will.
again.
I will.
Mother Mary Watson, happy birthday today. And again, then we thank candidate Mary Hood, attorney Mary Hood, who's running for circuit court judge. And then always I'm gonna make my plug for Dr. Karen Weaver for mayor. Now I can say it all day long. WWW. We want Weaver back in there. Now I think that would be good if because Mayor Weaver can look out the window and she can wave to Judge Mary Hood from across the street. So make sure that y'all make that happen for me, and then we'll be all set. Thank you all for joining tonight, and I will see you the same time, the same place next week at 6 o'clock. And also thank you to ATN News Media Group and my producer, Mickey J. Thank you.
Thank you. I